I bought / acquired nearly every Loewe fragrance on the men's and unisex side, so you don't have to. That's right, guys. Today we're doing the long-awaited Loewe buying guide that a lot of people have requested. I actually did a poll on Instagram for this brand a long time ago, and you guys were very adamant about this being created. So here it is today, guys. Around 20 fragrances today, I believe, if I've counted that correctly. I understand why there's a lot of hype for Loewe. I feel like they're getting more and more on the map, even though they've actually been around for decades as a perfume house. I feel like just recently, in the last few years, they're getting more notice, especially by reviewers like myself who won't stop talking about a certain one of their fragrances. If you guys know, you know. Loewe actually are a Spanish house that started in Madrid all the way back in 1846, I believe, as artisan leather workers, and then they became more of an established broad range fragrance house in the 70s, I believe, I want to say. And then they had a first women's perfume in the 1972. I think it was called El de Loewe. I might be wrong about that. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Since then, I kind of feel like they've had a lot of cool advertising. They're kind of a cool, fresher Spanish brand to make fresh fragrances is what I mean. Now they're owned by LVMH, so that sometimes can ruin creativity in a fragrance house. But hey, today we're going to judge all of them and see what kind of fragrances Loewe provides. Are they worth your money? Are they worth your time? Like with all these buying guides, guys, we go through each fragrance's scent profile, its performance, when I think you should wear it, as well as who I think should wear it, and then finally a rating out of 10. In all our buying guides, you should take my reviews with a pinch of salt because I'm wearing most of these fragrances as samples. Sample sprays are different to bottle sprays. It can alter your perception of how a fragrance is wearing on you. And also, a lot of these I would have had only one wearing, so I won't have as thorough a review for a lot of these as much as I should potentially, but that's because I have a lot of fragrances I need to get through, so I just need to be practical. But I will say, actually, I did give many of these fragrances several wearings so I can try and be as fair as possible. We're going to have timestamps in the description down below to jump between fragrances. Let's begin the buying guide. If you guys don't know, we have our own fragrance brand called Atrium, where we are trying to introduce and explore new creative ideas in men's perfumery. You can get a well-rounded collection in one purchase through acquiring our discovery set of our Curiosity collection, which is now available. Use the link in the description down below. We're going to first start off with a fragrance that kind of stands on its own, and that is Loewe's Solo Vulcan, which I have the official sample here. And you get a few of the notes here as well in the card saying sage, orange blossom, and immortelle. By the way, guys, I didn't buy a Loewe fragrance to get these. I was about to buy them from John Lewis, but then the bottle I was going to buy was super expensive. This is the kind of brand Loewe I think you really should look for them on discounters, because at the mainstream retailers, I feel like they're like probably double the price, maybe triple the price, something crazy, I don't know, but I get the impression they're very expensive in mainstream retailers compared to discounters. I do have my notes here on my phone to remind me of what I thought about the fragrances, so I write these down. I jot these down as I'm wearing the fragrances because there's a lot to try and remember. But Solo Vulcan, I remember it being quite green. I wrote down as oak mossy, and something I like. This is old school for sure. I'm not sure what year this came out in, but it smells old school. It smells like a, let's say, 80s, 90s phrase, that kind of era. I really like it, but I know a lot of you guys will not like this style. I've written down it's musky, oak moss, lavender, barbershop vibes with a lot of warmth. Yeah, it gives me 80s vibes. Think Aramis or Eau Sauvage de Toilette, that kind of style. Yeah, this feels like a really clean, gentlemanly fragrance. If you like Acqua di Parma's Cologne Essenza, I didn't write this down, but now I'm thinking it. If you like that fragrance, you'll like this also. Basically, think fougere, mature, gentlemanly barbershop vibes you'd wear in the spring, summer, and autumn time. I think the note breakdown was quite oversimplified for this fragrance. I wrote here there's probably neroli in here, some oak moss. There's a bit of amber from labdanum here as well, which warms it up a bit. Overall, I said this is a nice fragrance, but it smells a bit outdated and won't be for a lot of people. And I did not write down the longevity, unfortunately, but I think this wasn't the best performing fragrance. I think this was like 4 to 6 hours. I give it overall a 6.5 out of 10. A nice warm weather barbershop old school vibe. I like it. It won't be for everyone. Try it if you want to, if that kind of style appeals to you. Next up, we have 7 Eau de Toilette, which is a popular line that came in this official sample set, which you can get from the Loewe website. I've got my sample of 7. I'm going to reapply it, even though I actually do remember this quite well. I think I wore this twice. Yeah, this starts off the DNA. This starts off the line. This is very easy to wear. I really like this. This is like, how I would describe it is kind of like the base of a blue fragrance. You might see where I'm going with this, guys. I might be going into another fragrance after this. It's a bit more blue. This is like the base of a blue scent. This smells like it's fresh out the shower. It's like the skeletal structure of a fresh out the shower fragrance. It has that 7 DNA, which you'll see in all the flankers. It sort of has this like peppery, incensey woodiness. There's probably a lot of dihydromercenol, which is a synthetic molecule that gives a lot of masculinity to a fragrance. Kind of is like the iconic men's cosmetics notes as in a lot of blue fragrances. It's very smooth, it's classy. This makes me think of Loewe, like classy, Mediterranean, handsome. I remember having quite good performance as well, 6 to 8 hours. And I feel like you can wear this in the spring, summer, and autumn time, more of a daytime scent, but this is very fresh, easy to wear. I would say this is like how I described Dior Homme 2020 compared to Dior Homme Sport 2021. I would say Dior Homme 2020 is like the skeletal structure of that fragrance, but this is so this is like the skeletal structure of something like Loewe 7 Cobalt, which I'm going to talk about later on, of course, guys. But unlike the Dior Homme 2020, I think this is a great fragrance. I think this is really good. It does have some of its limitations. It's not like the perfect performer. It's like 6 to 8 hours, which is still okay, but I think this is great. It's simple, minimalist, very clean, fresh, easy to like. I think obviously masculine also. I'm going to give this, let's say, I wrote down I think 8 out of 10, but I think actually smelling it again, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It just smells classic. It smells iconic. It smells timeless. I think this came out in the 2000s, I want to say. I'm not sure, but it feels like it's a kind of fragrance that's going to be timeless for a long time to come. So yeah, this is a great start to the line. 37.9% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys really want to see our channel grow, go ahead and click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. Then we have 7 Anonimo, which to me was a bit of a strange fragrance. So this is like the more evening take of the original 7. It's a little bit leathery, a little bit warm and ambery, and I kind of just didn't understand that. Maybe it's just my brain, how my brain works, but I wore it twice as well, and I felt like it wasn't the longest lasting either. But with some of these Loewe fragrances, I'm a bit confused because in Fragrantica, I think people said this is a long lasting fragrance, but for me, it just wasn't that long lasting, and it's not the only time this happens in this buying guide. For me, I just couldn't get the performance, which is a bit strange. I'm usually the kind of guy who likes to actually say that, you know, you guys are too harsh on some fragrances' performance, but for me, I just couldn't get the performance that great. I think maybe about 4 to 6 hours of this fragrance. Let's say 6 hours if I'm being kind to it. It feels like a softly projecting, warmer take on that clean, peppery, woody incense DNA of the original 7. So for me, it's okay. I still give it a 7 out of 10 overall for 7 Anonimo, 7 out of 10. I would say it's more of an autumn, winter, and springtime scent. Wear it more as a date night setting. So let's say you want to wear 7, the original, in the daytime. You can wear 7 Anonimo in the evening, in my opinion. I feel like maybe I'm being a bit of a hater to this fragrance. I feel like more of you will probably enjoy this than I did. So try it out for sure. But yeah, for me, I just didn't quite understand this fragrance. It just felt a little bit flat. Like I didn't really understand the appeal of the scent. It just felt like I would probably reach for other date night fragrances instead. But hey, maybe I'm wrong about this scent. Then we're going to talk about the only full bottle of Loewe I own, and that is 7 Cobalt. So yeah, I've talked about this fragrance a bit. Oh, even just smelling from the cap. I love this fragrance so much. This is a beautiful blue scent. This takes that original 7 DNA and just makes it more blue, a little bit more modern, a little bit just more revitalized as a DNA. It's more fruity, peppery, woody, ambery. It has a nice balance to it. This is the best sporty, fresh blue DNA, I would say, right now. It smells so sexy, Mediterranean, handsome. 6 to 8 hours, pretty good performance. Spray it on your clothes if you want to really make it last, but I think this is such an attractive DNA. It's got me a big compliment in the past as well. I've talked about this a lot. Spring, summer, autumn, daytime fragrance. I give this a 9 out of 10. Then we have Loewe 7 Elixir, which actually I wanted to buy a full bottle purchase of. So from my memory, I think that was the bottle I wanted to purchase in John Lewis, but then when I went to the cashier, I heard that price tag, and I think I got mixed up as to what the price was, or the cashier told me, or another worker told me a different price, and then I just said to her, sorry, I can't spend that much money on it, and then they still gave me these samples, so I got to keep a lot of the Loewe samples. That was my story, because I bought other fragrances that day, so yeah, that's how it worked. So when you see the word elixir, you might think this is inspired by Sauvage Elixir. Not always the case with elixir fragrances, but actually here I think that is the case. This is like if that Loewe 7 blue DNA, like the blueness of this line, like if you look at the bottle, you know, you can see that gradient. The gradient makes it look like it's going to be a brighter scent than it actually is. This is a very dark, intense, earthy, patchouli scent. This is like a blue 7 Cobalt fresh fragrance mixed with Dior Sauvage Elixir, which sounds quite interesting, but I think it's clumsy. It does not work here. I do not like this. And I think it didn't get the best ratings either on Fragrantica, and I can see why. I'm not sure about the note breakdown. Again, it's probably oversimplified, but again, it has that pepperiness, that incense. There's a fruity red apple note in here, but I think there's definitely an earthy patchouli vibe here also. It's kind of just a little pungent. It kind of clashes these ideas. It's got great performance. I think it had like medium to loud projection and easily over 8 hours longevity from what I can remember, but I was not feeling this. It might be an interesting idea to you. You might still want to check it out. You know, it has good performance. You can probably wear this, I would say maybe also in winter time as a day and nighttime fragrance. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10 because I do like the 7-DNA. It does have some good things about it, but it's just a bit of a clumsy concept. It doesn't really work in my opinion, but yeah, 6.5 out of 10. All right, let's talk about 001 Man Eau de Toilette, and then I'll talk about the Eau de Parfum as well. Let me just find it, guys. So I'm just going to reapply 001 Eau de Toilette. I remember quite liking this fragrance. I think it's quite a minimalist fragrance. Yeah, this is kind of like a cedarwoody, musky, minimalist scent. If you like a musky, everyday, clean, inoffensive fragrance, this is the kind of vibes you're getting with Eau de Toilette. I've written down dry, peppery, creamy cedarwood. Although sandalwood is listed, I'm getting more of a dry cedarwood vibe. Cedarwood can smell a bit like a dry pencil shaving kind of effect. A little bit soapy, a little bit musky. Maybe some kind of lily of the valley raw material has that kind of brightness, I think, from that kind of family, in my opinion. And I've written down it gets even nicer on the dry down. I've said it's mature, masculine, slightly old school. I'm getting Creed Royal Oud with Bal d'Afrique from Byredo. So, okay, so Creed Royal Oud with Bal d'Afrique from Byredo. That's, yeah, I think I completely agree with past Omar writing that down because, yeah, I think I'm definitely getting this. Has like that dry pencil shaving of Royal Oud, but then has that airy, chic cleanness of a Byredo fragrance like Bal d'Afrique. I said this is very nicely blended. It's a spring, summer, autumn, daytime fragrance and a pretty good longevity of around 6 to 8 hours with a medium projection. I gave this an 8 out of 10 overall, a very nice minimalist signature, one of the best from the brand actually. Then I haven't exactly written this down for 001 Man Eau de Parfum, so we're talking about that fragrance now, but in my opinion, you don't really need to get the Eau de Parfum. It's very slightly different to the Eau de Toilette, but I kind of think the Eau de Toilette was better, although I've written them both to have the same rating. But the Eau de Parfum, I said it smells similar, a little bit more ambery, a little bit richer. It now smells more like a milky sandalwood than a dry cedarwood, in my opinion. So if you want a more warm version of that DNA of 001 Man, you can try this out. I've said it has less of that bright muskiness and it's more of that woody sharpness on the dry down. Soapy, creamy, clean overall with a slight ambery and spicy twist. 6 to 8 hours longevity, soft and medium projection. It's a bit more warm, a bit more close. And sandalwood in general does have that effect. It doesn't project that much in its natural form as far as I can tell. I've written this now to be an autumn, winter and spring fragrance. So if you want the Eau de Toilette for the warm weather, you can get the Eau de Parfum for the cool weather. So it's still a similar function, a similar idea. So 001 Man Eau de Parfum still gets an 8 out of 10 overall. I've got this sample here now of Agua so Aqua Him, is my Spanish perfect? Am I the best? I don't know, but Agua this to me is really nice, very easy to wear. It kind of reminded me of Sailing Day by Maison Margiela, if you guys remember that brand. And it has like this sort of bright, sharp, aquatic muskiness, like aquatics mixed with some bright white musk, soapy, clean, very easy to like, very nicely blended. If you like Acqua di Gio or Sailing Day, I think you'll like this fragrance. I've written here, nice, clean, sharp, floral, aquatic, metallic neroli, although the neroli is not listed. Yeah, I've also said here, if you like Versace Pour Homme or Issey Miyake Pour Homme, the original, then you'll like this fragrance, although I personally don't like Issey Miyake myself. I've written here the fruit notes and the citruses didn't really come out to me particularly. I can't remember the note breakdown now, so maybe I just didn't get those notes. I said all the amounts of each note feels balanced, very nicely blended, 4 to 6 hours longevity with a medium projection. Unisex, leaning masculine, spring, summer. I gave this a 7 out of 10 overall, but just smelling it now, yeah, actually, you know, a 7 out of 10. It kind of smells standard. It's probably going to have a higher price range than something like Versace Pour Homme, so maybe in that context, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. This is a solid freshie, a nice aquatic fragrance, very easy and casual to wear. Now let's move to the Esencia line, or probably pronounced Esencia. I don't know, guys. Esencia. This is probably another line in the brand that's similar to 7. It's probably getting a lot of hype. Probably a lot of you want to hear about this line in the Loewe brand. We have Esencia Eau de Toilette, which, okay, so some of these fragrances I could not acquire samples of, so I actually had to go to the Loewe boutiques in store and get one spray of this fragrance, like one spray of several fragrances I couldn't acquire. I had to make the most of my journey. So I got one spray of Esencia Eau de Toilette, which I think I've actually smelled before anyways. This is a very old school fragrance. I think this came out in the 70s. I might be wrong about that, but it smells old school, like green, oak, mossy. I think there's a leather note in here. It's a bit thick, warm. It reminds you of fragrances like Aramis, Eau Sauvage, maybe Guerlain's Vetiver, but it's definitely got that era of old school feeling to it. A lot of people refer to this as being similar to Polo Green or Fragrantica. I can see that as well. It's green, old school, a little bit barbershoppy. I've said it gets increasingly woody on the dry down, a tiny bit warm, a tiny bit leathery, masculine, mature, smells outdated. I think so, yes. Very different to the later Esencia flankers, and it competes with another fragrance in the line, Loewe Pour Homme, which I think is better in my opinion. Wear this fragrance in all seasons except the summertime. Day and night, it's going to be your mature, old school signature if you want it to be. I still give this a 6 out of 10. I just feel like this is outdated. Then we have Esencia Eau de Parfum, which I reviewed on a previous video, and I've worn it again for this buying guide. This is very different. They have modernized the line now by basically just cloning Creed Aventus. That's a very safe way to modernize your fragrance line. This is like their take on Creed Aventus. It's like if Creed Aventus had a baby with Hashivat. It kind of has like an oak mossy vibe to it, but it also has a slight dry woodiness to it that kind of reminds me of Mont Blanc Explorer. So it's like a little bit of pineapple, a little bit of dry woodiness, a little bit of oak moss, long-lasting, nice, smoothly blended, and versatile. You can pretty much wear this all year round. Daytime, probably more than night, but I think you can get away with it in the evening as well. It smells masculine, smells mature, smells classy. I give it a 9 out of 10. It's a solid Aventus-style fragrance. You can't really go wrong with this DNA. I just think they did it pretty well, and I can see why it gets a lot of hype. Oh, and it gave me around 8 to 10 hours with a medium projection from what I remember. Then we have the last Esencia fragrance, I believe. This is Esencia Elixir, which has patchouli, vetiver, and amber listed here. I think, again, it's one of those fragrances, because it's in the modern times, the perfumer or the brand just doesn't share any information about the fragrance anymore. So it's oversimplified, no breakdown. This, I really gave a lot of flack to 7 Elixir. So do you guys think I'm going to be the same with Esencia Elixir? It has a similar concept. It has the Esencia Eau de Parfum DNA, the Aventus DNA, mixed with something like Dior Sauvage Elixir. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting. Or like Hugo Boss Bottle Absolute, that kind of dark family. Earthy, patchouli, sharp, oak mossy. It has that pineapple in here. This is like if Creed Aventus had a slight baby, I don't know how that works, with Sauvage Elixir. Now, in 7 Elixir, I didn't think the concept worked, but here, this is one of the best fragrances in the brand. This just knocks it out of the park. This is very, very good. This is not as versatile as the Eau de Parfum, but this just smells really sexy. The idea just works really nicely. It's masculine, rich, smooth. It smells like money. This is a fragrance I don't mind spending some money for, because it is unique in its own way. It smells beautiful. Just a very sexy cold weather scent. I feel like I'd wear 7 Cobalt as my signature in the warm weather, then I wouldn't mind rocking this in the cold weather. I feel like it is only more suited to the autumn and winter time. Very masculine. And I think, I'm trying to remember, I think I got like 8 to 10 hours, like around that. So it's a very long lasting fragrance, like 10 hours, let's say, with a medium to loud projection. Great performer. A standout from the brand. Really good. This is going to be up there. Probably within the top 2. Oh, apologies. You guys are probably seeing the buying guide in the wrong order now, because I put Solo Vulcan at the beginning on its own, but actually it's part of this line here. And yeah, I don't know why my brain only just realized that now. It's very quick thinking from me there, basically, guys. But yeah, Solo Eau de Toilette I have here, which is another line from the brand. Solo Eau de Toilette, I actually wore this for Eid. We had Eid here in the UK recently, but by the time you're watching this video, if you're watching this in the future, and I went to the mosque with this for Eid prayers, and this was beautiful. I think this was very easy to like. It's a little bit old school, inoffensive. It's got that 2000s style. To me, I wrote down, it's kind of reminded me of that green, watery vibe of something like Green Irish Tweed or Cool Water. And then as it dries down, I feel like I'm getting like a melon note, like a fruity, sweet melon note in the dry down. It reminds me of the 2000s style. I said it reminds me of something like Star Walker, I think it's called, by Mont Blanc. And I've also referenced Antonio Banderas' Blue Seduction. If you smell that fragrance, that's the classic right there. I said it's very pleasant, inoffensive, a little bit old school, 4 to 6 hours medium projection, and this is going to be a spring summer masculine scent. It's not bad, it's safe, 7.5 out of 10. Then we have Solo Cedro, which I remember being very similar to the original just with an added cedar, as the name suggests. It's like if you want that clean, dry effect from a cedarwood note that you can get in other fragrances. I've said it reminds me of fragrances like D Squared Green, the green bottle from them. It kind of has like a simple designer cedarwood effect that smells more clean. If you want a more woody take on this DNA, that's basically what you're getting here. I've said you absolutely don't need to own both the original and this. And as this fragrance dries down on your skin, the cedarwood note becomes more prominent, becomes more of the main character. Very clean, simple, easy to like cedarwood notes. This apparently gave me 6 hours with a medium projection. I gave this a 7.5 out of 10, the same rating as the original. And then the last solo, again, this was a difficult one to acquire, so I had to go in store. Solo Elixir, I gave 1 spray on my hand as well. This is an interesting fragrance. I think this is a 2025 release. I've written it down. This was quite different. Okay, so they've modernized the DNA. I remember this being an earthy, sweet, powdery iris scent. So it's very different. And I think they use a tiny bit of real orris in there. It's not the most pleasant fragrance in the opening, but I remember it being nicer on the dry down. It has a luxurious orris in there, so it does justify that higher price tag a bit. Well, as I said, the opening is not the best, gets better as it dries down. I said here, sweeter, earthier, more powdery take on the original. A frankincense note is prominent here, more modern, less green and melon-like than the original. I've said it's earthy, waxy, ambery, woody, even more different from the original on the dry down. So basically, I kind of, reading my notes, it kind of seems like the Solo Elixir isn't really similar to the original line of the Solo fragrances. I've said this is a date-night fragrance, 3 out of 4 seasons excluding the summertime. Reasonable price, but again, it depends where you're shopping for a Loewe fragrance. I did not write down my rating out of 10. Opening might bring it down a bit. I feel like it won't appeal to a lot of people. I'd give this probably a 7 out of 10. It's not for everyone, but worth trying. It's an interesting, unique, modern idea. That's pretty cool. And then moving on from the Solo line, we have Pour Homme Eau de Toilette, which came out in the 70s, I want to say. It might have been one of their first fragrances. And this is the fragrance I was kind of referencing before with Esencia Eau de Toilette. I feel like these two fragrances would compete. This has a slight old school vibe to it, but I feel like this is better blended and a little bit more timeless. I'm running out of skim. I'm going to spray it again. I actually really like this fragrance. Again, it's one of those things where it's probably nice for me, to Omar's old man taste, but I think not everyone's going to like this. But the opening is so beautiful. It's like minty, fresh. It reminds you of like the good old times, like really classical, beautiful 20th century perfumery. It kind of reminds me a bit like of Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, Guerlain's Vetiver, Eau Sauvage by Dior. It's so, I think it's beautiful. I think it's like that opening that really gets me. It just smells so masculine, green, and beautifully blended. It's just like a really nice blend. So I've said it's green, minty, aromatic, fresh, with a smooth oak moss dry down. It reminds you of those fragrances I mentioned, but a bit more modern. For me, I was surprised it came out in 1974. This feels like it could have been a 90s release, so it actually smells more modern than you think compared to when it actually came out. For me, I said this is my style for sure, but disappointing performance, 4 hours medium projection, and it comes to the skin quickly. So for me, this might be like a guilty pleasure kind of fragrance. Spring, summer, autumn, daytime. I personally love the scent, although I said here, I even admitted here, it's not for everyone. Slightly old school, overall a 7 out of 10. I feel like this would be a guilty pleasure for me. I really love this. I've sprayed this so many times on myself in preparation for this guide, and I still love it, and I've sprayed it just now. It's a guilty pleasure, guys. You might still want to try it out. And before we get to the really summery fragrances, we have one more line before then, and that is the Earth line. We got the original Earth, which I think might be an eau de parfum, I'm not sure, but this was an interesting fragrance. This has an iconic note of pear in here. This is a pear, soapy, musky fragrance. And what have I written here? Herbaceous, aquatic, hint of sweetness from pear. Laundry detergent musky, so it's those white musks again that gives that cleanliness. Airy, musky, minimalist, unisex. Spring and summer, 6 to 8 hours longevity with medium projection. I do think actually maybe I've been a bit harsh on that performance. I feel like it's probably actually a bit longer lasting than that, but it really depends on your nose, how easily you go nose blind to those large white musks. Large molecules in perfumery are harder for our noses to detect depending on the individual. So some people go more easily nose blind to fragrance notes like white musks, which are large, or another large molecule like sandalwood. I think it's a safe, nice, pleasant, unisex, minimalist fragrance. It doesn't wow me is what I've written down. It's probably true even now smelling it. So I gave it a 7 out of 10. I think that's a fair score. And then we have here Earth Elixir, notes of truffle, pear, elemi, mimosa, and violets. This smelled a bit more earthy, as the Elixir line, you can appreciate it has that concept now. This is a really confusing flanker because I said here, same as the original, a little bit sweeter, slightly earthy, likely from patchouli. But for me, it seems to have worse performance. There's an oud note in here, which I don't get, and I don't get a truffle either personally. I think I wore this twice, and both times I couldn't get more than 4 hours with a soft projection. To me, this is overpriced. I think I had to look at the price as well when I was getting that performance. I gave this a 4 out of 10. This might be the lowest rating in the entire buying guide. But again, guys, am I just going nose blind to this? Am I being a hater? Have you tried Earth Elixir? Is it actually a fragrance that I should appreciate? But it still has that similar soapy, pear, musky vibe, which I'm not hugely impressed by anyways. So yeah, it's an okay line overall, the Earth line from Loewe. Then let's move on to probably another highly anticipated line in the brand. That is the Paula's Ibiza line. We've got the Eau de Toilette, we've got the Eclectic, and we've got Cosmic. Eclectic, as this is a men's channel, I will say Eclectic is very feminine. It is summery, tropical, focuses on whites, florals, which makes it quite feminine, creamy sunscreen vibes. I don't recommend it for guys personally. I think most guys will think it's a bit too feminine. I only had one spray of this. This is one of those difficult to acquire fragrances to sample, so only one spray. That was my impression, very limited impression. Now, let's focus on the original Eau de Toilette, which I've worn twice now, and both times I've very much enjoyed wearing this fragrance. It's very pleasant. I would say this is a little bit green, a little bit musky, soapy, tropical, sunscreen vibes. I feel like the entire line has summery sunscreen vibes, probably using a molecule called benzyl salicylate, which gives that sunscreen sun lotion effect. So this line just feels like you're on a holiday, basically. It is Paula's Ibiza after all. I've written here it's musky, woody, fruity sunscreen, although I'm not sure if there are actual fruit notes in the note breakdown. Unisex, drying down to a very creamy coconut white floral sun lotion effect. I think this is a fragrance that really shines in the air. Don't smother your nose too close to it and you get the best experience out of this fragrance. Slightly watery aquatic effect later in the dry down. I've said here, if you enjoy Bulgari's Aqua, the Aqua line in general, or Tom Ford's Costa Azzurra, you will enjoy this. This to me smells like holiday in a bottle, surprisingly long lasting, 6 to 8 hours, unisex, spring and summertime. I gave this an 8 out of 10. And I think that reference to Costa Azzurra might come from a driftwood note. I think in the note breakdown it was a driftwood note that I may or may not remember now, which probably gives that woody, dry, holiday sunscreen effect that both fragrances have. Really sexy scent. And lastly, we have Paula's Ibiza Cosmic, which I wore twice. I feel like most people will enjoy this the most. For me, it was not the #1 fragrance in the line. I slightly prefer the Eau de Toilette more than this, which is surprising. This has fun notes in here like mango, coconut, and sandalwood, so it kind of feels like the Eau de Toilette might be the daytime Ibiza scent, and then this would be like your evening sunset kind of fragrance. But I do think you can wear this in the day and night, spring and summer. It just kind of felt a bit flat on my skin. It felt very linear, probably a bit more modern than the Eau de Toilette in fairness. Yeah, so it's mango, coconut, and sandalwood. It smells, you know, very safe, easy to enjoy, sunscreen effect again, unisex. But again, this is another fragrance that surprised me because sandalwood notes are meant to be quite long lasting. Maybe I'm going nose blind. You would expect this fragrance to be more long lasting than it was. It's like milky, coconutty, sunscreeny, mango. It smells warm. It smells like it's going to last, but I think I got like 4 to 6 hours longevity each time I wore this. I think I wore this twice overall with a soft mini projector, not even a big projector. It's pleasant. It doesn't wow me, but you guys probably will enjoy this the most out of this line. I think it has the highest rating out of the 3 of them as well. I gave this a 7 out of 10. I think that's fair. I thought to myself, you know, looking at that note breakdown beforehand, I was going to buy this as a full bottle. It felt like it was going to be right up my alley. Probably not that. I probably wouldn't buy this in full bottle, but it's solid. It's a nice fragrance, very pleasant, easy to wear. That concludes this buying guide, guys. There we go. We went through quite a lot of them. What are your thoughts on the Loewe brand? For me, they're a cool brand that has their own distinct style. It feels like you are smelling a different kind of style because they are a Spanish brand. You don't really have many Spanish brands out there in the perfume world. They have this freshness to them, lightness and ease of wearability, with a few sweeter scents that can be rocked in the cold weather as your signature. For me personally, my #1 fragrance from the brand is still going to be Loewe 7 Cobalt, you know, it still hasn't been dethroned. It's a 9 out of 10 from me, but actually another 9 out of 10 you guys may have noticed is going to be Esencia Elixir, which I just wasn't expecting to like so much. I think in the cold weather, once the weather gets cold again, I'm going to buy that as a full bottle personally. I think it's fantastic. I'm wearing this again. Oh, it's just beautiful. Even it's crazy, guys. I'm the guy who always says there's too many Aventus clones out there. This is Aventus style for sure, but it has such a unique, sexy twist. Okay, I'm buying another Aventus style fragrance, I guess. And then maybe number 3, I would say, is probably, it's either a tie, I think it's number 3 spot is a tie between the Original 7, which is very easy to like as well. I think that's a great fragrance. I mean, if you want relatively safe blind buy, 7 Cobalt and the Original 7 are pretty safe blind buys, but of course, blind buying is always done at your own risk. There's always some risk with blind buying, but I would put a tie at the number 3 spot with the Original 7 and Paula's Ibiza Eau de Toilette, the original there. I hope you guys enjoyed this buying guide. As I said, we've only covered the men's/unisex fragrances. I went onto the official website and I went down the list of those fragrances that they have officially on their website, so you might not see some discontinued scents from the brand here. What are your thoughts on Loewe? Have you tried any of their fragrances, or are you interested in trying their fragrances after watching this video? Let us know in the comments down below, guys. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our Louis Vuitton buying guide up here, which will be very relevant in this upcoming warm season. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.